Senior Minister of State for Transport, Janil Puthucheary, said in Parliament that if personal mobility device users do not improve their behaviour, the government may have no choice but to ban PMDs. This comes amid the rising number of accidents and fires linked to the devices. To talk about whether they are for or against this possible PMD ban, we have journalists Ting Wei and Ee Lyn on the show. Hi both.
Hello.
Right, so let's start with Ee Lyn, who is for the ban, more or less. Can you tell us why?
I think, well, it's quite clear. This is something that was pushed out. It's brought some benefits, right? When you think about how PMDs are used to, for people to commute short distances. But again, just look at the cost it has brought. There are lots of people who have been injured, and we've actually seen death. That lady, and just today there was a fire at Bukit Batok that happened on the 5th floor of the housing block, and an infant on the level above, on the 6th floor, had to be hospitalized for smoke inhalation. And this is an infant, So you're talking about
collateral damage.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
Basically.
Yes. We've done stories in the past talking about how in 2017 and 2018 we've had in total 36 PMD users and their pillion riders who were injured, and the government actually hasn't released the total figures of pedestrians who were injured. Okay, but anecdotally we know that the cost of this is, must be quite huge. It's not only traumatic for survivors, for the victims, but especially when it comes to elderly people, when they're injured, they've had to have some of their family members have had to become caregivers. So this is what we know anecdotally.
Okay, so we'll come back to you in a bit. So Ting Wei, you are against the ban, but taking into consideration what Ee Lyn has said as well, can you share your side of the story?
So for me, I agree with Ee Lyn. Like, there's really a big problem here, and there's also quite a lot of cost involved. But I feel like in a way, a ban is too drastic an option. So just looking at it in a way, I mean, there are car accidents unfortunately every day, but you don't talk about banning cars as a solution. And that's because cars have benefits for the users in a way. So when you look at PMDs, of course, there's also, in the long term, there's also the bigger picture of helping Singapore becoming a car-like society and stuff. So at the moment, I think, it's definitely not developed enough. It's definitely a problem. But we cannot really ignore how it has benefited maybe about 100,000, almost 100,000 users in Singapore at the moment. And we also for me, I'm very worried about, like, say, my grandparents getting involved in an accident with PMDs, because I've seen speeding PMDs. But on the other hand, we have also, there are also responsible users. I've talked to them before. There are people who use it to bring their kids to school, people who use it to bring their kids for excursions, like food delivery riders who rely on it as a source of living. So for these people, you can't really just, and there are some people among this group who are irresponsible, but I feel like you can't really just penalize the rest who have been using it and relying on it for so much time.
So currently there's about 90,000 e-scooters that have been registered as of August. So Ee Lyn, Ting Wei brought up a point saying that there are people who use it responsibly, parents who ferry children to and from school. There are also your food delivery riders. What about a partial ban? If it's not a total ban, what is the partial ban?
Okay, I think I'd like to address, before I go to that, I'd like to address a point that Ting Wei brought up. We do have accidents on our public roads, car accidents and so on. So why don't we ban cars? Well, I think when you're in a car and you're on the road, it is a given that, people take on this risk, right? If you're a car driver, if you're a passenger in a car, you take on this risk. But the thing is, these PMDs have been introduced onto footpaths, and frankly, no one asked pedestrians whether they actually want to be in this, unwritten contract, that, hey, if I go on the road, I have to accept that I can be,
injured.
Injured. No one ever asked them, and they've suddenly been made to share these footpaths, and they are also, remember that, unprotected, because it's just pure flesh against a speeding kind of bullet.
So Ee Lyn is coming from the point of you're basically arguing for the protection for pedestrians.
Yes.
In Ting Wei, right?
I understand my Ting Wei's point, about the benefits, but I think the problem is the infrastructure isn't there, and do we still want another accident? Do we still want another death, to pedestrians?
Ting Wei, so maybe we'll wrap up this debate or discussion in a bit. So Ting Wei, Ee Lyn mentioned infrastructure. So do you agree that if infrastructure is improved quickly, then we can dismiss the possibility of a PMD ban?
Yeah, I guess infrastructure is really a problem because if you look at European countries, I think some European countries, like I think Sweden comes to mind, they have e-scooters in the countries, and they coexist quite well within the transport ecosystem because there's a lot of cycling lanes there. But in Singapore, we don't have such a luxury. So yeah, I agree because basically no one wants another death. For the lady who died, it was really quite tragic. I mean, it's just very tragic. So in a way, I guess, but infrastructure improvement will take time. But at the same time, because if we are talking about PMDs, it should be I feel like it's more of a user problem rather than a device problem, because it's how the users use it. And when you put it into their hands, if a user is someone, even if you let him ride a bike, if it's someone who likes to speed, who likes to create trouble right on the roads and stuff, he can still find some ways to create trouble with it. So at the end of the day, I feel like other than infrastructure improvement, what needs to be done in the short term to try to at least address this issue is much stronger enforcement. I think LTA has 200 enforcement, will be having 200 enforcement officers by the end of this year. But even if 200, you look at the numbers, 90,000, 200 to 90,000, it doesn't seem like it's a number big enough to kind of curb this errant behavior. And we maybe need to look at some form of compulsory license, like when you ride motorbikes and stuff, you need a license. So basically you need to make it harder for people to be able to use PMD. So in a way, they kind of, they are more responsible, they are more prepared, and they are more trained to handle the PMDs. So at least that will help to address the user problem.
Okay. Thank you, Ting Wei. So any last words you would like to say before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I think we should ban it.
Nice and sweet. Thank you both for coming on to share your opinions. Thank you so much. So once again, that was Ting Wei and Ee Lyn. Of course, this ban is currently a consideration. So to keep updated on this matter, please check out the Straits Times website. Those were our top stories for today. For more news and videos, do head on to straitstimes.com. Once again, I'm Melissa, and thank you for tuning in. Tune in tomorrow, same time, for more stories on The Big Story.